The Chicago Bears are heading into Week 2 with a mixture of optimism and concern, and the conversation right now is centered around the injury report. Anytime the week turns over and practice starts, fans want to know which players are trending up, which ones might miss time, and what it all means for Sunday. For Chicago, the latest updates bring both encouraging signs and some troubling developments, and that has a direct impact on how this team will try to rebound after the opener. Looking at the Bears injury report, one of the first names that jumps off the page is Kyler Gordon. He was listed as a non-participant with a hamstring issue, and although it was technically just a walkthrough, these estimations are usually accurate. That kind of soft tissue problem is something that can easily linger, and Gordon himself admitted he started to feel tightness last week. If it turns out to be a hamstring strain, even a mild one, the expectation would be at least a couple of weeks on the sidelines. That is not good news for a secondary that needs as much help as it can get against explosive offenses. Another name that surprised people was Grady Jarrett. He popped up with a knee designation after not being mentioned in the immediate aftermath of the first game. The veteran defensive lineman has dealt with serious injuries in the past, including a torn ACL, so it is always concerning when a knee issue shows up out of nowhere. Sometimes older players do wake up sore or need a day of maintenance, but usually teams label that as veteran rest instead of specifying a body part. Until more clarity arrives, Jarrett is definitely someone to keep an eye on in the next reports. On a more positive note, TJ Edwards is showing progress. He was unable to play in the opener, but this time he logged limited work with his hamstring. He even went through a workout before Monday Night Football, which suggests he was close to returning. If he can continue stacking practices, Chicago could finally get him back on the field this week, and his presence would be a significant boost for the middle of the defense. Alongside him, Jalen Johnson was also listed as a full participant. He had been working through groin and calf issues, but the fact that he made it through a complete session indicates that he is trending toward being ready. Other notes from the Bears side include Roscoe Johnson being limited with a foot problem, which at least suggests improvement, and DJ Moore participating fully after a groin issue. Both are important pieces for this offense, and Chicago would much rather have them playing through minor aches than watching from the sideline. The big picture here is that while the Bears are banged up, some of their key defenders appear to be on the mend, just in time for an important divisional battle. Turning to the Detroit Lions, the injury list raised eyebrows as well. Jack Campbell, their young linebacker, was held out with an ankle problem. This is actually the first time he has ever appeared on an injury report in his Lions career, which makes it especially notable. Losing a player like Campbell would be a real setback for Detroit's defense because he brings toughness and range in the middle. Alongside him, veteran tackle Taylor Decker was sidelined with a shoulder issue. Decker himself admitted to the media that it is something he is managing and that he hopes to play, but even the possibility of him being limited matters. The Lions' offensive line had its share of struggles in the opener, and the thought of being without their starting left tackle is not something they want to face. A few others showed up on the report as well. Shaun Vaki was limited with a hamstring, Trevor Nowaski had an elbow problem, and some defensive backs like Tyrion Arnold and Daniel Thomas were listed but managed to fully participate. The main storyline, though, revolves around Campbell and Decker because both are cornerstones at their respective positions. If either one is hampered, Chicago's defensive line might find opportunities to create pressure and disrupt the Lions' rhythm. Of course, injuries are only one part of the story. The other big talking point heading into Week 2 is how offensive coordinator Ben Johnson intends to adjust. In the opener, Chicago's rushing attack was nearly non-existent. Caleb Williams ended up leading the team in rushing yards with 58 on 6 carries, and that simply cannot be the formula moving forward. Wide receiver DJ Moore actually had 3 carries, while DeAndre Swift handled 17, but averaged just over 3 yards per attempt. That lack of efficiency put the entire weight of the offense on the rookie quarterback, which is unfair and unsustainable. Johnson admitted that he did not call enough runs, finishing with fewer than 20 designed rushing plays in the entire game. That is not how his offenses usually operate. Back in Detroit, one of the keys to his success was maintaining balance and wearing defenses down with the ground game. He even referenced the need to get rookie running back Kyle Menengai, more involved after the youngster was surprisingly left without a single carry against Minnesota. Menengai was active, even caught an early pass for a first down, but then disappeared from the game plan. That raised questions because his physical running style could complement Swift and provide a spark between the tackles. It is true that quarterbacks tend to average more yards per carry when they scramble, but relying on Williams to be the leading rusher is not sustainable. The Bears were actually the least effective rushing team in the entire league during Week 1, and that is not an identity anyone in Chicago wants to embrace. Sticking with the run, even when early carries are not producing big gains, is often what opens things up later. We saw that on the other sideline, where Minnesota kept pounding away despite low yardage totals early. By the fourth quarter, Jordan Mason was wearing down the defense and finding lanes. That patience was missing from Chicago's approach, and Johnson seems to recognize it. If the Bears are serious about improving, they will need to commit to the run in Week 2. That does not mean abandoning Swift, who should still be the feature back, but it does mean giving Menengai a real chance. Sometimes a rookie needs just a handful of carries to show what he can do, and if he brings energy or a fresh look, it can change the dynamic of the offense. Even 10 touches spread throughout the game could keep the defense guessing and relieve some pressure from Williams. The Bears drafted their quarterback to be the future, not to carry the entire offense on his shoulders in September. Meanwhile, one small but potentially meaningful piece of news came from outside the division. Reports out of Dallas suggest that cornerback Darren Bland could miss a couple of weeks with a right foot injury suffered in practice. That matters for Chicago because the Cowboys are their opponent in Week 3. If Bland is indeed sidelined, it could be a break for the Bears, who would avoid one of the top playmakers in that secondary when the teams meet at Soldier Field. The NFL schedule often swings on health, and sometimes catching an opponent without a star defender can make a difference in a tight game. All of this sets the stage for an intriguing matchup this weekend. Chicago is nursing injuries, but also getting healthier in some key spots, while Detroit faces uncertainty with important players of their own. Add in the adjustments that Ben Johnson has promised, especially in the run game, and the Bears have a chance to look like a more balanced, physical team than they did in the opener. Whether that actually happens will depend on execution, health, and a willingness to stick to the ground attack, even when the early returns are modest. For a fan base hungry to see progress, the answers will start coming on Sunday. As the Bears prepare for this matchup, the focus naturally shifts from who is healthy enough to play to how those pieces will be used once the game begins. This is where the chess match really takes shape, because while injuries and availability dictate the personnel, the coaching staff still has to figure out how to maximize those who are ready. For Chicago, it feels like the defense is on the verge of finding its footing, but the offense remains the storyline, and the running game continues to sit at the heart of it. One of the main reasons this running game discussion has dominated is because of the impact it has on Caleb Williams. There is no denying that the rookie has incredible talent, a live arm, mobility, and the poise that made him the top pick, but putting him in situations where he has to drop back 40 or 50 times a game is a recipe for mistakes. Defenses are too smart and too fast, and coordinators around the league will not hesitate to pressure a rookie until he proves he can beat them consistently. That is why establishing the ground game matters so much. Even an average rushing attack can slow down a pass rush and open up opportunities for play action, which is where Williams can use his strengths. If you go back to Week 1, the Bears often found themselves in second and long or third and long situations because early down runs were either stuffed at the line or abandoned altogether. That allowed the Vikings to pin their ears back and attack. It is not just about how many yards a single carry produces. It is about setting up manageable downs. A 3-yard run on first down may not look like much, but it is far better than an incompletion that leads to obvious passing situations. That subtle difference shapes the rhythm of an entire drive. Kyle Menengai is the name everyone keeps circling because he represents an unknown factor. Defenses have not seen him on tape in the pros, and his college reputation was that of a grinder who can push piles and absorb contact. Those are qualities the Bears lacked in the opener. DeAndre Swift is shifty and explosive when he finds space, but when the lanes are tight, he does not have the same power to churn out tough yards. Having Menengai in the rotation could bring a new dimension. Coaches often talk about body blows in the running game, carries that do not break big but soften a defense for later. A back who runs with physicality is often the one delivering those shots. Of course, none of this matters if the offensive line does not hold up. That unit is under the microscope as much as anyone because the interior struggled against Minnesota and put Williams under more pressure than was ideal. Injuries across the league remind everyone how fragile depth can be, and Chicago is no different. Getting healthier bodies back is only part of the solution. The group also needs to play with cohesion. Communication and timing in the run game are just as critical as brute strength. If the line can get a push up front, suddenly those 2-yard gains become 4 or 5, and everything looks different. The subplot of Dallas looming in Week 3 adds another wrinkle. Knowing that the Cowboys may be without Darren Bland is one of those things that lingers in the background. It does not change the immediate task, but players and coaches are aware of how stretches of the schedule line up. A win over Detroit, followed by facing a Dallas secondary missing a key piece, could suddenly put the Bears in a position of momentum that nobody predicted 2 weeks into the season. That is how quickly narratives shift in the NFL. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could be one of the most surprising moves of the NFL offseason, whispers are swirling that Jordan Mailata, the colossal offensive lineman known as the Human Wall, is leaving Philadelphia for Chicago. Sources close to the league suggest that the Bears are making a serious push to acquire Mailata, a move that could instantly elevate their offensive line to elite status. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the mere mention of Mailata in a Bears uniform has already sent shockwaves through the NFL community. Mailata, who has earned a reputation as one of the most dominant tackles in the league, has been instrumental in protecting quarterbacks and creating lanes for running backs in Philly. His rare combination of size, athleticism, and agility makes him nearly unstoppable in one-on-one matchups. And it seems Chicago's front office is ready to invest heavily to bring that power to Soldier Field. Imagine a Bears line anchored by Mailata. Defensive coordinators across the league would have to rethink their schemes entirely. Insiders hint that negotiations could involve a multi-year, high-stakes contract, underscoring how desperate the Bears are to upgrade their trenches. The chatter around Mailata's potential move has already sparked debates among fans and analysts. Would this shift change the balance of power in the NFC? Some suggest the Bears' offense, long criticized for inconsistency, could suddenly become one of the most feared units in the league. Others caution that transitions like this aren't always seamless, pointing to chemistry and adaptation as potential hurdles. Despite the uncertainty, the excitement is palpable. Social media is already buzzing with mock-ups of Mailata in navy and orange, and hashtags hinting at the Human Wall in Chicago are trending. If even a fraction of these rumors prove true, the Bears might have just pulled off a coup that reshapes the conversation about NFL offensive lines. One thing is clear. Wherever Jordan Mailata lands, the chatter won't stop anytime soon, and the league will be watching closely as this human colossus potentially changes the game once again. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.